Welcome everybody to episode 81 of the Corner Blue. This is Andres Rico and I'm with Hugo Alvarado, and we're right on the eve of the next qualifying window, the doubleheader at home against Panama and Guate. The excitement increases. Hugo, how are you doing?
Doing great, excited, ready for the games, packing, getting ready to go to El Salvador, and we're ready.
Yeah, I think this will be the first time that both of us coincide out there because I'm getting ready to do the same, pack my bags up, have them ready to go. I don't know if it's optimism that I'm feeling, but something called me, something beckoned me to purchase that flight, negotiate terms with my wife, get my visa from the household, and make my way back to the homeland for these two matches. I think when you combine the win at Guatemala and then the whole drama with whether they were going to play at El Cusca or not, I think the fact that El Cusca could possibly see its last qualifying campaign in this match day window compelled me even further to want to go out there and send the Cusca off possibly in the best way possible. Um, so yeah, the excitement begins with the World Cup qualifiers, and I'm glad I'm going to be able to see it up close and personal in the flesh. How about you, man?
Me too. I mean, I had that experience last month, and I'm looking forward to it. Um, Exciting games. I mean, I think after this upcoming two games, we'll know where all the teams stand in terms of our possibilities of qualifying to the World Cup. So I think it's two crucial matches, and I'm really excited and looking forward to them.
Yeah, I think the fact that it's a double header just makes it even more exciting because you can carry that momentum if it's there for two games. You have people excited about our chances for two games. The first match against Panama has been sold out despite, the sanction or the punishment from FIFA for the unfortunate gestures and insults and heckling against Suriname. But it cleared the air. Cusca survived the Guns N' Roses threat. It survived the FIFA threat, and the match indeed is going to take place there against Panama. But it could be a double-edged sword. Like if things don't go the best way, Panama, it could affect the turnout for the match against Wate, and I'm hoping that is not the case. I just think, regardless, we're right there. We're right at the edge of scraping in again, of another inevitable generation, squeaking by. And I think, yeah, something's telling me you got to go see it in person, and so I acted on it. And I think it's going to be a great experience, regardless. I mean, it's one of the best sporting, experiences that you can have as a fan, in my opinion, is being able to watch your home country playing at home in a qualifier with everything on the line. And I've never seen a Selecta this close to qualifying. I've seen them in like early stages. So this is a whole different territory for me, and it's something that is definitely exciting. Ugo, you still feeling optimistic? How are you feeling about things going into the next window?
Always optimistic. And I think if we've learned something from this qualifiers is that anything can happen. Qualifiers are completely different than any other tournament. And I mean, just by seeing how the guys are, last month, how the optimism inside the team and how we're all one team, ready to fight every ball, and defend our teammate in every play. Um, I I I I'm positive. I feel optimistic that this is the opportunity that we've been waiting for. We're 4 games away from possibly going to a World Cup. If you're not excited about that, maybe you don't belong there. So it's we're ready to make history, And I'm not in any way saying that it's going to be an easy match. Everybody feels the same way. Panama probably feels the same way. Yes, of course, people think that the pressure is on them. Um, and I don't really feel that way, honestly. I feel
Like
that,
Isabella's the underdog, you're saying, basically.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and people say, yeah, Panama has all the pressure. And I understand their perspective coming from they were supposed to be the best team in the group. They were supposed to have 6 points right now, at least according to their side, their media, their fans. Um, I understand if you look at it from that perspective, but for us, we're also at home. We're at home, and we lost our last match at home, and it's crucial for us to get the 3 points. So I feel like I think the pressure is on both equally, and and I think it's going to be a great match. I also don't really like relying so much on the historical facts that they haven't been able to beat us in qualifiers at El Cusca. That's a great fact, but that's just the fact. So um, I don't rely on those facts to determine whether we can get a good result or not. I think it's going to be a good match. I think our guys are ready to fight for the country and try to go for the win. That's a win will be amazing, and it will put us in a really good spot moving forward.
Yeah, the precedents have definitely been set at Cusca versus Panama, but obviously you can't rely on it like you were mentioning. But despite that, just when you think about how results have gone, you can't you can't help but get a little bit excited and hope that we see the next chapter in that. That being said, though, again, like you mentioned, I want to emphasize Panama has a lot of pressure because they're not first. They have a lot of pressure because of the latest results. And then, yes, it's been brought up not only by the Salvadoran press, but I've seen it by the Panamanian press or the ghosts of the past. And if anything that comes to mind is, the 2008 match, El Salvador versus Panama. Cheo puts the team on his back, and then the weirdest, strangest, but most glorious goal ever. When Luis Anaya strikes from outside the box and it somehow ricochets off of Chepe Martinez's back and goes into the goal, and Pinelo has nothing to do about it. Um, One of my favorite moments as a fan of La Selecta, and yeah, let's hope that we see something positive, not as strange as that, but I'm hoping for something positive, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the last memory we have, right? I mean, I
Well,
also
then
remember
there's Enrico.
there's the
Enrico.
Enrico goal,
Hmm.
um, his only goal with the national team, I think,
I think so.
with the senior team.
Hmm. Hmm.
Actually, with any team, I think that's it.
Hmm.
His only goal. So, and I think the stadium was semi-empty for that
Yeah,
game. I
things
don't
were not going
remember.
well at the
Yeah,
time. There was, the fans seemed affected by the results and just some of the stuff that how things were being managed, administratively, within the team, and it was. I feel like it was the peak of the nacionalistas versus the legionario lovers. Each person saw each other as like this extreme, which for now I feel there's more unity in the fan base. I don't see that divide as much. I think the main thing right now, we're speaking about this optimism, but as of late, there's been news coming out of El Salvador about all the injuries to players, and so far the lack of, or what fans are calling a lack of call-ups of replacements, and that was an interesting thing to see because the list is what 23 players going into this, so that's more than twice. That's more than two teams for two teams worth of
26
players.
players were called. 26 were called.
And so that's a steep squad, steep list. And it's not like you have one man per position. So it's not that I'm defending calling up replacements in in an emergency status. More than anything, I feel like it's a vote of confidence you could interpret in a sense by Bolillo. Like, these are my guys. I'm gonna stick with them. Each one has a whether it's a first string, second string, or third option, it's been established, and we're gonna keep the next guy that's up. It's gonna be his turn to go. I think that's how I interpret it, rather than like somehow he's being stubborn or he's blacklisted certain players or isn't thinking of them at all or taking them into consideration. I think it's more than that. It's kind of the vote of confidence of like, all right, we've lost a couple of players on the way, but we kind of have to circle the wagons here and bail ourselves out with, with what we have. So in that sense, I get it. If that's, that's just my interpretation of it.
But also, remember that Ronald Rodriguez was called
Mm-hmm.
after the list was released after the
Mm-hmm.
first potential injury. So
Mm-hmm.
he has called some players, but also in the center back position or defenders, that's one position that had many options in on the original list.
Mm-hmm.
Dominguez was there. Um, um, what's his name? Rudy. Is it Rudy? No, the guy from FAS. I'm forgetting his name right now. Um,
Well, I know
he'll come back.
Julio Cruz had to leave because of some family situation.
Right.
Cibrian is a center back.
So
Uh,
Cibrian is there. Dominguez
mhm,
is there. Ronald
mhm.
Rodriguez is there. Um,
Climaco is an option too.
Climaco is also an option as a center back. So I feel like
Martinez too, if need
Martinez
be.
can play as a center back. And so I feel like there were plenty of players already in those positions.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, so he doesn't, he's trusting the players that he has. He has stated on multiple occasions the importance of having guys that know his style and how he works. So he has some players already there who've been waiting for their opportunity, and that's what you call a large squad for these games. I mean, most national teams are calling 23 players. We've been calling 26. Um, so
I think that
it's
also
unfortunate.
is
Yeah.
part of like the casting too of, Bolillo being able to see players since, he's been here since March, and I think people forget that. So, that's already been barely 7 months. Um, what I'm interested to see is, how he comes out we s- if we see another iteration of Bolillo Ball, or if it's starting to, define itself. If it's becoming evident where he's going to play in a defensive block, look for midfielders for quick transitions to bail out the midfield and then make that transition into attack. We'll see. It hasn't been the most pretty of performances or style, I guess you could say. But it's kept El Salvador in the hunt. So we have yet to see how that's going to look with Harold Osorio out. What comes to mind is this may be Enrico's moment to get minutes. We've seen Enrico not get as many minutes due to Bolillo's tactics of playing more defensively, but this might, force a hand in that sense of having to put someone like Enrico either as someone that creates, up top, or if he might play on one of the wings potentially too, as we've seen. So that's something that comes to mind. Hopefully Harold makes a quick recovery. I heard it was, if I'm not mistaken, a clavicle issue, which honestly sounds better than if it were a rotator cuff issue because those take a long time to heal. Bones heal, but the rotator cuff, if anything happens there, it's like at least a year before your shoulder goes back to normal. So in that sense, I'm glad, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. And then other than that,
I think
well,
it was. I
uh-huh,
think there was something that tore. I think the ligaments that hold the
the
clavicle
clavicle,
tore. Yeah.
yeah, okay,
So it could
ouchie.
be. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
So it. it's unfortunate, but it's part of the game. But it's unfortunate that we're losing some of these players that, some of them
Yeah, Romero,
starters, others,
Tamacas.
yeah. And Harold was coming in as a sub in the first two games. So yeah, just wishing them the best, for a quick recovery and this is the opportunity. I mean, in the national team, you want to have 23 players who can all be starters at any point.
Mhm.
So this is the opportunity for those players to step up and show the coaching staff why they are there.
And as part of tonight's episode, we have a special guest, Stephen Levy from AFJA. He's going to sit and talk with us about the origins of his organization, how he's living this qualifying stage as a fan, and just what it's been like for him connecting with, the diaspora throughout, the United States and beyond. I met him recently at Cultura Fest out here in the Bay Area at South San Francisco and figured we should have him on the show and talk to Selecta. So here's a chat with Stephen Levy.
All right, all right. Yeah, you know how to do
Coming
it.
from an Earthquakes fan, but nice kid.
Yeah, it's a decento.
Yeah, for sure. Cool, man. Well, thanks for joining us. Like usually, we just do like a informal chat. We don't really like do a big intro or anything like that. Or like just boom, start throwing questions out there. But yeah, we just basically like to just ease into the conversation. But just want to thank you, for taking the time. Also, thanks for the invite to Cultura Fest. Like that was pretty impressive, man. Like as someone that's grown up in the Bay Area, especially in the North Bay, which the demo is very different from the rest of the Bay Area, I would say. Where like I didn't grow up with many Salvies around me, to be honest. So it was
Yeah,
cool being able to go to South City and then seeing the diasporas of the different countries, in Central America and beyond. And it was cool seeing people connect. Like that was pretty sick.
I was just as impressed as you were of how many people came out to that. And no, I mean, sorry to interrupt you. I can't agree with you anymore. It's really cool to see the diaspora activate in the Bay Area.
For sure, man. And could you talk to us a little bit about, who you are, what AFJA is, and, how it's been connecting with members of the diaspora throughout the states and beyond, and just what this whole experience has been for you and what you're up to with it, basically.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, first and foremost, Andres and Hugo, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. It's something that I think is needed, an English podcast that dives into all things La Selecta. And Hugo, I don't know if you remember, but we met at one of the Selecta tryouts that I helped when Hugo Perez was the head coach out here, and
Yeah.
when we had the tryouts out here in LA. But to answer your question, Andres, I'm just another member of the believers. You know what I mean? The group of us around the world, from not just the United States, but Canada, Australia, Sweden, anywhere that there are Salvadoreños outside of El Salvador that still believe, that we can make it back to the promised land of what our parents, in my case, my mother and father, told me was, La Selecta. So where does the organization AFJA come from? Where does it all start? I think it starts with that, right? It starts with watching World Cups where El Salvador was not in with my dad, and sitting next to him watching, Costa Rica or Honduras play in these World Cups, and hearing him talk about what El Salvador's national team was at one point, and how close 1998 was, for us. And a lot of that, I think, inspired myself and a lot of my friends to create the organization that we call AFJA, La Academia de Fútbol Juvenil Amatense. And it comes from travel. I was born in Los Angeles. Both of my parents are Salvadoreños. My mom is from Canton Los Amates, San Juan Opico, and my father's from Colonia Matepec in San Salvador. But to keep it, very brief. I know we're on a podcast. It's not my autobiography or anything like that.
You're good, bro.
It's really about believing not just in La Selecta going to the World Cup, but believing that el mascón y eso de fútbol being a vehicle for social change, believing that soccer as a universal language in the world can have an impact in the lives of the kids that are from these underserved areas. I always tell people that we started AFJA, before the current administration was in place. So a lot of the safety and those types of privileges that we enjoy and people that live in El Salvador enjoy now weren't in place. So it was a different reality back then, and we're still here, and we want to continue to use soccer as a vehicle for social change, so that the kids not only develop in the athletic way, right, for them to potentially be professional soccer players, but we all know that it's a very small percentage of kids or girls and boys that go to that elite level to play at a professional level, but still using that game for good. And that's in a short way what AFJA does.
Nice, man. So basically you guys fundraise and finance like a soccer school in El Salvador. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah. So we started this just recycling soccer equipment, old soccer equipment that was piling up in people's garages and storage units and closets. I grew up playing youth sports in the U.S., and the only time I would play soccer was when I would go back to Canton Los Amates in Opico, where nobody wanted to play baseball or football, right? They wanted to play football, and just started collecting used equipment with local soccer clubs, and very quickly, and fortunately got connected with Nike and teams in Major League Soccer with our mission and things like that. I graduated from the School of Southern California, the University of Southern California, and I studied my minor in social entrepreneurship. So I always had an idea of how to create a social enterprise that could generate funds for good, right? Using business practices and marketing practices that were traditionally for profit, but applying them for a nonprofit cause. In this case, a completely free soccer academy. The first people to believe in us were Salvadoreños that were like, man, es que ustedes están yendo a los cantones, and that's what we need to do. Everybody's got to go to the cantones to look for the talent, right? And it's like, it's not that easy, It's not just talent, the infrastructure and all the things that you guys talk about, right? Like the nutrition and the things that's the closer you get to the institution that is La Federación, the quicker you find out that it's not just about having talent, right? It's not just about having soccer balls. It's about having the right fields and the right circumstances to elevate your game. So we are one of many organizations, and I am one of many Salvadoreños that believe that together we can be the change that brings a new era for La Selecta.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I think it's definitely important to make sports available, because if anything, that it hasn't necessarily been the case at a formal or informal level where kids are learning and practicing from someone. Like I was talking with Oliver Ayala, who played for the U20s in Turkey, and he mentioned that before he entered FESA, no one taught him how to kick a ball. No one taught him where to be on the pitch, what runs to make, or anything like that. But that fortunately he ended up, progressing, whether it was from school and then making his way into FESA, an organization in El Salvador, and having his talent, polished. So that's awesome that, that's an avenue, and that's something that kids don't get, and, hearing it from the player, like, he didn't have anyone to teach him basics and stuff. And as someone that played soccer in the US as a kid, just the paywall and just, all the obstacles that you have just to play organized ball, like, even here, that's awesome that you guys are trying to open the doors for kids over there. And, I've seen you guys' content on your social media and, just from seeing the faces, the kids' faces, like, you can see that you guys are doing great work out there. So props, man.
I appreciate that, man. I can't resonate with that enough. I think one of the first professional players to believe in us was a member of La Selecta, was Andres El Ruso Flores. When we got invited by Nike to go to Portland, that was the first person I wanted to connect with, and he
Sick.
welcomed us with open arms. Una gran persona,
Yeah,
Andres is from a generation of players that understood that in order for the game to change in El Salvador, he had to be that change, and you see that now with him in investing in his own development as a coach and all that. So, you talk about FESA. I mean, we always looked at FESA. Big shout out to Jorge and Fabricio and everybody that's over there at FESA doing amazing work. That's part of the infrastructure that we need, right? FESA, I think, is doing it right, and not just with soccer, but with different sports.
for sure, man. Yeah, and I think that's gonna pave the way somehow if there's access to organized ball, because it's not about, like you said, the whole theory or the mythology of going to Los Cantones. It's about going there but leaving something there. It's not
Yeah.
trying to pry kids out and finding these diamonds in the rough. It's leaving something there. So yeah,
Yeah.
I see that concept, and yeah, it's very, very inspiring, man. How has it been with like the events that you guys have done? Because I mean, I figured that's like, part of the fundraising side of things and the marketing aspect of stuff. But literally, y'all have been in different states and linked up with different pro teams. And, that's something that my generation, we didn't have that growing up. So I think, it's awesome that you're giving visibility to things. And how has it been? What's the reception been like in throughout the different leagues, states, different cities that you guys have been to?
Overwhelmingly good, right? We are currently self-funded, self-reliant, completely from our own fundraising. We don't receive grant funding. We don't receive federal grant funding. We sell pupusas inside of a stadium to keep a soccer program going so that the coaches have the equipment, they have the field, they have transportation, que no les haga falta nada, right? That we are completely self-funded. And for me, that's one of the most proud things that I can say, because we've been doing this for 7 years. And fortunately, through, I think, a lot of hard work and grit, I think Salvadorans, at least in my experience, if I could use one word to define my experience, is true grit. It's and you see it in our mothers and our grandmothers and all that. So when we go, I'm a kid from LA, and I go to the Bay Area. The whole time when you talk about sports, the whole time that I've been raised in sports, it's always been this rivalry with LA and the Bay Area. But not when it came to this, because you have your Salvadoran family and community that's embracing our idea, our program, our nonprofit. Same thing in New York and Long Island. And we see the Salvadoran Heritage Night concept popping up in other big cities like Houston and the DMV, with other groups of people that have seen what AFJA has accomplished, and they're organizing themselves and wanting to do that for themselves, for the nonprofit causes that they care about.
Oh, okay.
And that's great. If we could do this in Melbourne and in Toronto and all that, we start to build a network. It's not about me or who did it first or nobody owns culture. And that's the most beautiful thing. And I think I want to see Salvadoran Heritage Nights in Florida and Kansas and all of that, because that is part of the collective shaping of identity. You said that when you grew up, you didn't have that. I didn't either. I remember going to Dodger Stadium for Korean Heritage Night with my friends or Mexican Heritage Night and being like, man, si los colores son azul y blanco, like nobody's thought about this, you know, and
Yeah, for the Dodgers, yeah, it works out perfectly.
you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
but to see that now applied at the San Jose Sharks, you know, and we're in talks with other teams in the Bay and things like that. It's because we're a force. You know what I mean? We're a force, and you see that with stadiums. You know, you saw that at the Cotton Bowl when El Salvador played there a few years ago, where it outnumbered the Mexican fan base for the first time. So these professional sports teams see it from a financial perspective first, but we see it from a social perspective, where it's like we're building community for us.
for sure, man. Well, if you ever set something up, I know it's with the rival Giants, but I can already see the gray and orange color scheme. Ooh, that would be clean. So
I'm
let me
gonna send
know.
you
Let me.
I'll send you a unreleased shirt. I think you saw it at Cultura Fest, but yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
got
I saw the logo with like
you.
the inspiration from, I think it's Fernando Yort's art
Yeah,
style. That was pretty
Armenian
clean. That
style.
was
Yeah,
pretty clean. Um, that's sick, man. Well, moving along because we don't want to take too much of your time.
of course.
The optimism is something that I felt from you when I first met you. You know, you were talking about how you felt something positive was going to happen in Wate. Right now, the next window is about to start for qualifiers. How are you feeling about it right now? What's your take right now? We're right almost there.
Ah, man, it's tough. I think I don't. I hate to say this, but I don't feel as optimistic as I did before the first two rounds, uh, and it's mostly because of the injuries,
For
right?
sure.
You know, seeing Henry Romero, who before before this past couple rounds of qualifiers, I would see Henry Romero on the lineup, and I was a bit doubtful. And he's somebody that supports AFJA, you know, and we interact and things. And I was like, man, like he was that heartbeat. He was a Maya Pipil warrior in that field, man. Like there was no way anybody was getting past him. And you need that leadership, right? That veteran leadership. So I really hope that we can count on him. Panama, I think, obviously they're a favorite, right? In the current qualifiers, you have Carrasquilla and Barcenas in that midfield. If we can hold that midfield down versus Panama, I think we can squeeze out a 1-0 victory. If not, you know, settle for a tie. But we want that win.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to talk about the fortress that Cuscatlan is, and that we moved Guns N' Roses to El Mágico González, and you know. But I have to be cautiously optimistic. I will say that's how I feel. I still think we can squeeze it out, but I don't feel as optimistic as I did in the first go around.
Well, you mentioned being cautiously optimistic. I tend to be cautiously pessimistic, and then we have
I
Hugo,
noticed.
who is like the resident optimistic person. Um, but yeah, we were talking about this a little bit earlier, and I feel like regardless of the results, something kind of drew me in where I was like, I gotta go. I haven't been to a Cusca in 12 years to see La Selecta play, you know, and with the possibility of Guns N' Roses eliminating that chance of going and then
Yeah,
getting cleared and then getting that win in Guatemala, it was like the writing was on the wall. Like, okay, if things clear up because it has all these factors against it, go. So I'm going.
nice.
And what I wanted to bring up, have you been to Cusca? Have you had the chance to go to see La Selecta at Cusca? How could you describe it? Because one way that I always look at it is there's you can go see La Selecta away, right? But there's just something about seeing them at home and during the qualifiers. So I don't know if you can attest to that or what your experiences there have been for good, for bad, for worse.
For me, I mean, I've never been to Estadio Cuscatlan for a World Cup qualifier. You know what I mean? I've gone for friendlies. The very last game I saw was Inter Miami versus Selecta there, and
Nice,
that's
nice, nice.
you know a feel good game. Everybody's wearing Messi jerseys, and it's not what this is. You're going to war. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? You're
yeah,
going to battle.
Yeah.
And you feel that. And I know that the rival team feels that. And that's what we need. Respectfully, right? We don't want to get into any trouble with
Shenanigans.
discriminatory chants and stuff where we don't want that word. We don't stand for that. But we definitely want that doubt to settle in to the rival. And it used to be one of my really good friends is Jaime Penedo, World Cup goalie for Panama, LA Galaxy legend. And I've talked to him about this topic, and he's told me it genuinely was like fear that you felt going not just to El Cusca, but landing in El Salvador. A lot of that had to do, I think, with the conditions that the country lived under for so long, and that factor isn't there anymore. For me personally, even when it was El Salvador versus Inter Miami, there was still that pride. But you want to talk about like a derby, right? Like this is more than that. This is you're leaving it all, and you feel that as a fan. I wish I could tell you like how it's going to be, but I feel like you already know.
Yeah. Well, Hugo, this will be your second time around going to qualifiers, right, at Cusca. What was your impression this first time around? And what are you looking forward to? Because there's those idiosyncrasies, culturally, going to the stadium that you're not going to experience at another place. Even if they would have played at El Mágico, it would have been a complete different experience if they would have played there. What are some of those things that you've noticed or that have stood out to you or that you're looking forward to or you're weary of too? Because there are those too.
First of all, Steven, congratulations on everything you're doing and all your hard work. I'm curious to know more. Like the pupusas. I've seen the pupusa truck and all of that. So it's really cool that you get to do that and support the country in different ways. I think we all try to help in our own ways. And so props to you, man. Keep it up. For me, I mean, I don't know if you said that your first game was the Inter Miami.
Yeah, that was my last game. Yeah.
Oh, that was your last game. That was my first game ever at El Cusca, and it was special. I mean, I got to be at field level, which I had never been. But I agree with you. Like you looked at the crowd, and it was mostly pink shirts. So yeah, the qualifier. Oof, I mean, just the whole thing from the moment that you leave the hotel, and you're being escorted by police, and all the fans are going to the stadium, and they're like honking and like the flags. It's like it pumps you up. I mean, for the players, I'm sure it's like. Then you get closer to the entrance of the stadium and the fans start pounding on the bus, and it's incredible. I mean, it's incredible. And then just being there and the national anthem. I don't think I ever heard the national anthem being sang. I don't want to say that. I can't say much about other anthems because I haven't been to stadiums where other countries are playing, but the emotions, man. I mean, I think if you didn't get teary during that moment, I don't know what else would get you emotional, and having that sense of pride and the fighter jets, just flying over the stadium during that.
I haven't had that.
Yeah, during that pause, when the
other things went flying in the air.
It's dude, it's incredible, and it gets your blood pumping, and for some of us, like me, I didn't go to El Salvador for 14 years, and just I didn't go back for 14 years, but just being there, and it feels like home. It feels like home, and then at the same time, El Cusca, for good or better or worse. I don't know. It's an old stadium. It's there's something about where I can see how the rivals could feel a little bit unsafe.
Yeah, well, I
you
mean,
know,
the locker room, it's like a lamina basically separating them from the outside where the fans are
yeah,
talking shit.
and then you just have a fence, and then the field is there. It's pretty special.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of the pressure that the fans can put on the opponent, and yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to explain. I mean, a lot of my experiences have been games here in the States, which is completely different. I'm not saying that it was not. It doesn't feel dangerous. I don't want to go there necessarily, but um, it's a different environment. Like you said, people are ready for it's like a coliseum type of thing.
Yeah.
People are
Yeah.
ready for to fight, and that's not something that you necessarily experience here in the States.
Yeah, the stakes
When
are just completely different.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's very different, and if we really pause for a moment and think that we're 4 games away from possibly going back to a World Cup. I mean, that's big and it's
It's
huge
crazy.
that, only 4 games away. So I'm really, I mean, I'm really excited and looking forward to it. I was telling Andres earlier that I'm in no way thinking that just because of the historical facts, just because Panama has never been able to beat us there, I don't immediately go into thinking that it's going to be easy and we're going to win. No, not at all. I mean, they continue to be the best team in the group, and I think it's good for us to look at it that way and to take all of that and use it as a source of motivation. We're the underdogs in a way, but we were also the underdogs against Guatemala. Although Guatemala and El Salvador are pretty similar in styles, but Guatemala coming from going to the semifinals in the Gold Cup, everybody thought that they were going to destroy us, and the story was different. So I think for me, that game could be a great example of what we can accomplish as a team. I think we have a team of warriors. Everybody fights. Everybody is ready to defend their teammate. And I think that's our strength. I think our strength right now is it's how we um, we're all in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's that thing where I never agree with when they say tienen que jugar con huevo. I mean, I yes, but you need more than that
Yeah.
to win games. But right now, I think that our team has that plus the uh, being very organized and knowing exactly how they want to play, how we want to play. Um,
Let me segue with that. Sorry, Uro. We've been talking about the concept of like Bolillo Ball and trying to define it. Is it something distinct? Is it something that is palpable now? Because we saw different versions of it leading up to Gold Cup, and we saw the attempt of Bolillo trying to cement it versus Canada, but things just going sideways. But Steven, how would you define Bolillo Ball? What would be your take on Bolillo Ball? Because to me, I'm still trying to figure it out. I kind of think I know what it is, but how would you describe it?
I think from what I've seen so far with El Salvador, I think Bolillo is a better coach than Christensen, I will say. I think that he understands the region and he understands the players, and more importantly, he understands the Panamanian players better than any of the other coaches that we've had in the recent history because of his experience coaching in the region. Bolillo ball is CONCACAF ball. You know what I mean? Win by any means necessary. It's not about trying to adjust the player to a European style or a tiki-taka style. He plays CONCACAF ball. And there's something to be said about he instills doubt in his opponent right away. You know what I mean? You'll see the number 9 very much up top, whereas in the recent past with Yonoga, you saw that more conservative, scared, not scared approach, but more conservative with your number 9, closer to the midfield, playing more defense. He's sending Brian Hill right at them. You know what I mean? And even if he's a matchup of two defenders, he's up in the air. So I think that is his strength. Is my friends call him Big Balls Bolillo. You know what I mean? Like it's just like
love it or hate it. You know?
Yeah, like it's he's coming right at you from the gate. And you saw that even when in the Gold Cup match where El Salvador played and they started foul. I think it was versus Canada where they just started, just beating people up or whatever. And it's not pretty, right? It's not a ballet dance. It's CONCACAF. Like that's what it is. You know what I mean? And that's what it's gonna take for us to qualify. You got to be gritty dogs. And that's what I will say about Bolillo is he plays like smash mouth soccer, you know what I mean? CONCACAF football, in your face type of ball. So it reminds me of like Manchester United when in the Beckham
90s
days. Yes, yeah, you know what I mean? And that's personally I like it, right? That's just what I like. But
yeah, I saw a recent reel where I forget the player. I don't know if it was Phil Neville or one of the Nevilles mentioning that.
Right.
Ferguson didn't focus on tactics. It was more about how you're going to play, like what you're going to do, the 1v1s, how aggressive are you going to be, and not worry about everything else. Just focus on, playing. And I hope we see more of that. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I prefer more of the Roca style, in a sense, versus the versions that we've gotten lately. I remember the fans when they had the Gold Cup game in San Jose. People were pissed at all the long balls. They were pissed. But it started to make sense, as of the last qualifying window. I think with Martinez getting called up, I really hope that Bolillo finds some answers with him. And clogging up the middle and shutting down Carrasquilla. But yeah, exciting stuff on the horizon. Are you going to be able to go to the match, or are you going to be watching from home?
I'm hoping. Well, we organize watch parties here. Big shout out to Ambiente Central here in LA. We're going to be throwing a watch party for the Friday game versus Panama.
Sick.
And then the tickets went on sale today for Guatemala, and nobody can even get through to the website because it's so saturated.
Oh snap!
So if I can get tickets, then I'll fly out just for the game. Pues sí, entonces, like I was saying, man, I think I would love to be there. I'd love to be in the Estadio Cuscatlán on Tuesday. Up on the table, right, with the 3 points from beating Panama, or even the 1-1, but we want those 3 points going into a game versus a Guatemala that they're pissed. Man, I don't have a single friend or family member. My fiance is Guatemalan who isn't upset about that loss. Like they came riding so confident. And remember, we talked about this in Cultura Fest. I was like, man, I think we're going to pull this off. Like, I really do. And, man, they really, really played great, and they played Bolillo ball,
For sure. Well, all right. We won't take any more of your time, man. But, again, thanks so much for chatting with us. It's always awesome to be able to talk with fellow fans, about the highs and the lows of La Selecta. That's what's been so sick about, just having this podcast and having that ability and linking up with people in, different ways in different states, cities, countries, continents. And it is amazing how, something as person could think is insignificant, like El Salvador's national team, can link, so many people that can, stir so many emotions for us, and just being able to connect is what's awesome about this. So yeah, so thanks a lot, and keep up the good work. And if you want to leak any designs for a future Giants collab jersey, let me know. I won't link it. I promise.
Nah, man. Hugo, Andres, thank you guys. Continue doing this work. It's part of a collective engine that we're building in this mission that we all. Nobody pays us to do this. Nobody tells us this is what we have to do. This is something that is nace del corazón. You know what I mean? This is something that comes from our collective belief that we can do this as a country. And man, I just thank you guys, man. Thank you for the podcast and for the invitation to talk about it. As far as where people can find us, we're on Instagram at afja.es, and you can find us at www.la2la.org. Big shout out to toda la gente de San Juan Opico, and keep up the good work, guys. Let's get this win against Panama.
For sure, man. Let's go.
All right.
All right, man. Thanks
Later,
a lot.
guys.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Good night.
Well, there you have it, folks. That was our chat with Stephen Levy of AFJA. Just nice opportunity to link up with someone that, as a member of the diaspora, has found a way to give back to El Salvador, that has found a way of linking other members of the diaspora throughout different countries, and making El Salvador and us that have that heritage a little bit more visible. And I think that's very important, especially in today's climate. I think visibility, having a sense of identity, is something that should come from the home, but when you get it from the outside, it even reinforces it even more. So props to what they're doing, and it was great to have them on the show. And we're gonna close out. I wanted to mention something briefly. The news broke a couple weeks ago about the passing of Jaime Rodriguez, and I met him personally once. I went to his school for like 2 months the summer of freshman year because I desperately wanted to get on JV, and so I wanted to stay fit. And somehow I was able to sign up for his academy. And being at that academy, you saw another example of someone trying to give back. And if anything, that's what I admired about that school, the academy that he had, where you had players from different socioeconomic backgrounds training, developing as players. You saw how he was trying to create a system where players could move up and have the possibility of not only either getting formed abroad or developing abroad, as in the case of El Ruso Flores and Jaime Alas that came out of that academy, but also having the opportunity or having something to look forward to and trying to play in first division. He had San Salvador FC linked up with his academy, and people were able to move up in the ranks. So it was a model that was ironically ahead of its time. In that sense, La Chilona was ahead of his time as a former player that decided to give back and try and develop talent. And that's just talking about him as an ex-player, a retired player. So salute to him for that. The memories that I had playing for that school were great, and so I have him to thank for that. And it was a way of connecting with the culture in El Salvador in a way that I would have never imagined. So I appreciate that. And then obviously what he did as a player for the national team and representing El Salvador in an era before the Bosman law was passed and before social media, before the internet, and being able to play in Europe and Asia, launching the J League. Like, they made sure that he was one of the designated players to launch the J League. And as a defender, on top of it all, that speaks highly of who Lechinona was as a player, and then his ideas of developing talent. And yeah, so salute to La Chilona. It was a bummer to hear It was sad to hear of his passing, but I just wanted to take a moment to appreciate him on the show. And that's the jersey that I used to wear at his school. So good memories, good times. Um, is there anything you want to add before we close out?
No, man, just also sending my uh, condolences to his family, to um, um, Kevin Rodriguez. I already got to do that, through messages, but I know that there's also other brothers that lived here in the States, I think in Texas, most of them. So, yeah, definitely one of the historic players along with El Mágico and El Pájaro that we had. And yeah, he's gone a little too soon, but that's part of life.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to take that moment because, culturally, that was like a huge moment for me is being able to experience playing over there. Because I grew up playing organized ball here, recreationally, clubs, etc. But I'd never had the experience other than like friendly matches with friends or on the street or at school when I went to school there. But having that experience of training there, playing games there, it definitely was a very nice experience, and I have fond memories of it. And so I just wanted to express that. So yeah, in any case, we're gonna start packing our bags soon. Hopefully, Ula and I can link up in El Salvador at some point in between matches and do like a special episode. We'll see how time permits and whether the equipment works or we're able to get the right equipment out there to make it happen. Maybe it'll be a video and audio or just audio. We'll see what we can make happen. But please stay tuned and put your seatbelts on because it's going to be an interesting ride coming up the next week and a half. So with that, we'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.